This is a coping mechanism podcast.
This is a coping mechanism podcast.
This is a coping mechanism podcast. Welcome one and all to the Yes note.
What?
Yes note.
Yes note?
Yeah.
What does that
Yes to that note that you
Oh.
hit.
Yes note.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, I got you. That's my yawn. That's the video that I have saved that were muted, but I yawned for the first time.
Yeah.
And I guess you had never seen me yawn and know that I make a sound. And you fucking lose it. Like, you're kind of giggling now. You, like, fully
Really?
keel over and are like,
And
ah!
it's just like silent because there's no audio.
Yeah, there's no audio, but it's me going, and then you going.
I gotta see that.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I have to find it now because I thought I had it in there. Anyway,
Welcome. What is up with you yawning with the W's?
do you want to do the intros this time, or do you
No,
want me to do
no,
it?
no.
Okay. Greetings, one and all, to another exciting episode of This is a Coping Mechanism podcast. I am one of your hosts, Ted Henderson, joined as always by my absolutely just the bee's knees podcast host,
Bessie! What's up, guys? Bessie, as always, and today you're usually here for our ways we cope through life with movies, mysteries, media, and more. But today we're doing something a little different for in those in-betweens.
Yep. So, we haven't dialed down the schedule of this, but you should expect these about once a month, where they're going to be a bit more, less focused of a conversation, more of a,
Just kind of
Just-
casual, off the
yeah.
cuff.
eventually we will be accepting user-submitted questions, through our Patreon and comments. So if there's something that you would like us to talk about or a question you may have, feel free to put it in the comments. Patreon supporters will answer 'em.
Yeah, just a little kind of variety show for
Yeah.
in between.
So today,
Definitely, yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
There you
Are you sure?
go. Yeah.
Are you? Am I?
I want you to tell me the story
Okay.
about
Uh,
GameStop.
well, so I started telling a story before the show, and then we realized that it was good material. So what I was gonna say is that some of the show will be focused around the card game, the and. My life is falling apart. What are those symbols?
I don't know.
Okay. The and game, Strangers Edition, because strangers.
It's called The Skin Deep.
But I was telling a story, and you wanted to hear about it on mic, so I'm gonna tell it.
Yeah, because,
So-
you know, at this point, who needs this,
Who needs a private life?
yeah,
You know, who cares?
exactly, not
Uh,
you.
So, I was telling the story about a girl that I had met, now just a bit over a year ago, and so, Jesus, that dog snore got picked up on the microphone. My God. So I go to GameStop, because as you guys might be able to tell, I'm a big fan of video games, and one of my favorite series, if not my favorite, is the Legend of Zelda series. And at time of this recording, the latest game that just came out, or that didn't just came out, it came out exactly 1 year ago. Tears of the Kingdom. They were coming out with this special edition and a special edition console. It doesn't matter. Unless you're also into video games, in which you'd be like, you got it? Yes, I did. But so me and my brother, we go there to pre-order them, and I'm very good friends with the manager. Now she's the regional manager.
Mm.
She's done things and given me insight that she is not. Anyway, but she was like, "Hey, the pre-orders open at this time. Go in there
Pre-order
and
them.
to get it." And I was like, "Okay." So I go in there, and then the guy's like, "Hey, manager already called, told me you were coming, but our system just crashed." And I was like, "Oh, like your computer went down?" He was like, "No, GameStop system just crashed and it's being reset." So I the pre-orders are not going to go up. I can't do any other than in-store transactions.
Yeah.
I can't do anything. And then so I called the manager, I know, and they were like, and then they're like, yeah, we have no idea what happened. Everything's fucked. And I was like, okay. So I was like, do you have an idea about when it's supposed to get fixed? And he was like, honestly, I've seen it take like 5 hours. And I was like, all right,
Oh
I guess
wait.
I'm gonna hang out with you. Yeah. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. And he was like, no, I'm serious. It could be like up to 5 hours. And I was like, he had also said earlier that in the conversation that they had only, their store, my local store, was only going to get 5 of these systems. And I wanted one, and my brother wanted one. So that's 2 out of 5. And I ain't leaving that shit on the table. I'm too big of a Zelda fan. So I was like, no, man, I'm going to hang out. I'm just going to be here. And
For 5 hours.
yeah, I was like, I'm going to be here 5 hours. Well, I was there for longer than 5 hours.
Oh fuck.
So the guy was like, okay, I guess, man. I mean, you're more than welcome to wait. And, you know, honestly, it felt like, I thought of it, he seemed weird about it, but you think of like a game store that has like midnight releases,
Yeah.
or people like lining up for stuff. I was just
They'd
a
be used to
one-man
that.
line.
Yeah. They'd be used to it. Like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he was new.
I don't know. Anyway, so people would come in, and I was just there wandering the store. I was, watching stuff on my phone, just kind of dicking around. And about 2 hours deep, people would come in, be like, hey, I want to pre-order this. And then he would go, our system went down. We can't do anything that's not an in-store transaction. I'm sorry. I don't know what it's going to be back up. And then he'd be like, and then for a couple people, he would go, you can wait. That guy's waiting, but he's been here for 2 hours and it still hasn't come up yet. And then they would look at me and I'd be like, and then they would leave. So while I'm waiting, this girl walks in, who I thought was very pretty. But that's neither here nor there. So anyway, so she comes in and she's like, hey, I want to pre-order the special edition in the system. And then the guy's like, I'm really sorry. There's things messed up. That guy's been waiting for like 3 hours now.
Yeah.
I don't know when it's come up. He's like, honestly, I thought it'd be up by now. And then she was like, damn, I'm on my lunch break. Do you think? And he was like, how much time do you have? And she was like, I'm supposed to be back in like 10 minutes. And then he was like, yeah, well, he said, I don't really think it's going to be up in that time.
Yeah.
So she says, crap, I really wanted to get this. I'm working until whatever. She says I'm going to be working until this time. And then he says, well, it's probably going to be up before then.
Yeah.
And we're only getting 5. And she seemed nice, and was in a bind. A lot of the other people who were coming in seemed kind of rude to this guy, and they're kind of dicks. So I was like, hey. So I go up and I was like, hey, I'm not trying to eavesdrop. I'm really sorry. And they were like, what? And I was like, this is going to sound kind of weird. I don't know how much you want to trust a random stranger with hundreds of dollars, but if you want to give me your money, I'm here. I'm going to stay here until this opens. I'll pre-order you one. And then this girl squints her eyes and then eyes me up and down, and she's like, I'm gonna trust you.
Wow.
And I was like,
crazy.
I know, right? I couldn't believe it.
What made you offer for her and nobody else like it? Because she thought she was cute and she
No.
genuinely seemed like she wanted it compared to the other people?
The cute thing actually had no factor in
Okay.
it. The biggest factor, she was the first person who went in there, didn't leave immediately when they got an answer
Okay.
no, and wasn't a dick.
Okay.
I honestly felt, I was talking, about 4 hours in, me and the guy were chumming it up pretty good, and I was
Sure.
like, I can't believe how much, people are assholes when they just,
Oh, being in any customer service job is fucking garbage.
yeah.
You get treated like shit.
Apparently, people need to get out more, because...
Well, CJ worked at GameStop.
Yeah.
And the shit he would tell me, I'm like, what the fuck is going on with people? I mean, my industry is the same, but I can fire you if I want to. These people can't, Usually they complain they get something free. So they're just rewarded for their behavior.
Right? And it's just... But my biggest thing was that she wasn't a dick, and she seemed like she actually
Was interested in it.
wanted to get it, and she and I found out later she really did.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm gonna trust you, and I went, okay. If you want, they have my name and phone number and address. So
Yeah.
if I steal your money, it's really easy to track me down. And so she laughs at that, and I was like, yeah, ha ha ha. So, I guess she was a pretty big regular of GameStop.
Mm.
Also, apparently a big video game fan, Zelda
Which
fan.
is funny that that's a thing.
Yeah. It's funny that people are fans of video games.
No, that you can frequent somewhere so much that's not like an intimate kind of like experience.
Yeah.
Like, you know, a haircut or massage or, you know, something like that.
Oh yeah, but that's
For like the people that work there, like, oh yeah, that's a regular. I'm like, whoa, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Not in a bad way, but I've never worked any other job besides what I do, so I couldn't imagine, even though I've gone to places and
That
like
sh-
they
that shit do
recognize your
exist.
order, and I'm like, oh shit, wow, you remember me.
and they're like, damn,
I know, you see fucking hundreds of people every day.
I'm that, you know me. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I get, she's a regular, and he was like, yeah, I actually already know you. And so she gives the guy her phone number, and he's like, all right, I have your account pulled up. And he's like, if he's here and he does pre-order, we'll do it. And I was like, all right, cool. And then he was like, and then I'll send
Did you get anything to eat?
No, I didn't.
I'm like, I'm gonna go next door to whatever the fuck food they got over there. And
There
like,
was no food next door. There's a beauty supply, a nail salon, and a shoe store. That's
damn.
all that's in the complex.
They're usually always next to a Subway or
I
something.
fucking wish. I was on my feet and there for like 6.5 hours.
That's crazy. I'm almost
Um,
surprised they didn't just do a list of like first come first serve. You wrote the name down and that's all who got it.
I would have thought so too, but they really didn't. I don't
Especially
know.
if it's only 5, and then you just be like, oh, we don't have it.
Yeah,
Just
we're
tell
done.
people that.
So,
You buy the game.
no.
Oh.
So then it gets more interesting.
Mm.
So this is where I think you'll be like, ooh. So she gives the guy her phone number, and he's like, okay. And then if he's here, whatever. And then she's like, so you big Zelda fan? And I was like, oh. And then I'm just standing there because I'm like this is now, I don't know, I'm at least 3 hours deep, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm focused. I'm just there, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm a big Zelda fan. I've been, and I'm like,
Yeah.
in my head, I'm like, obviously, I've been here for hours.
And why would I be waiting for hours and offer to buy you a pre-sale if I didn't want this fucking game?
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, and I was like, I have a really, and I said, I have an almost near complete Zelda collection, and I'm a big fan. And then he's like, oh, what other kind of video games do you like? And then in my head, this is when it starts going, what the fuck is this girl doing? She has to be back at work in 10 minutes. Why is she talking to me? And then I was like, oh, but that's first thing that pops in
Yeah,
my
you're like,
head.
bitch, don't you gonna leave?
And then I'm like, oh, I'm a big fan of Fallout and Halo. Honestly, I like a lot of
Fallout? Did you
video
watch
games.
the
I like
show?
JRPG. I did. I love the
So
show.
good.
Oh, you watched the show?
Yeah.
We have to do an episode about the show. I don't give a shit. We can just do an episode about Fallout, and I'll talk about fucking Fallout hardcore. Anyway, and then so I'm talking to her, and we keep talking. We're talking about like video games we like. She's talking about her video game collection. I'm talking about mine.
Yeah.
We're going back and forth, and then she goes, "Oh, hey, wait a minute, just in case, let me give you my number, so that way you can let me know." And I was like, "Okay." So she writes down her name and her phone number and gives it to me, and I was like, all right. And then my head, I was like, why the fuck do I need her phone number? She already gave him the phone number. And then it never once crossed my mind that this girl was giving me her phone number
Yeah.
and being like, text me.
Wow.
And then she was like, because she handed it to me, and I was like, okay. And I all I could think was, I don't need this phone number. why would she give this to me? This girl's crazy. And then God, it was one of the dumbest talk I've ever had talking to a woman. Is I was like, "Don't you have to go to work? Didn't you say you had to be at work like in 10 minutes?" And we've been talking for a while. And she was like, "Oh, it'll be fine. So what other stuff are you into?"
Aw.
And I was like, she was like, "Are you into anime?" And I was like, I said, "Yeah, some." So we talked about that for a little bit. And then again, I couldn't understand because she just kept talking to me. And then
You're
I
like,
was-
you sure you don't have to be at work?
I did say that. I said it multiple times. And I kept being like, until it got to a point where I was like, "Hey, you seem really nice. And I can appreciate that I, a stranger, am doing a nice thing for you." And I said this to her, and I was like, "But if we keep talking, you're going to get in trouble at work. I think you need to leave and go to work." And she said, "Oh, okay, yeah, I guess I'll go then." I said,
Aw.
"Okay, I'll let you know when the pre-order's done." And then and then she leaves, and I look over to the guy, and I'm like,
It's
"What's her
fine.
deal?" And the guy looks at me like I'm a fucking idiot because I'm a fucking idiot.
Damn.
And then, so then my brother calls me, like another hour later, and that whole thing in my head, the only part that I'm still thinking about is about how dumb it was that she gave me her number when she didn't need to give me her number. And then I'm telling Alex, my brother, I'm talking to him, and I'm telling him the story, I just told you. But then while I'm telling it, and I was like, "Yeah," and I couldn't figure out why wait a minute. Wait a minute. And then he was like, "What?" And I was like, "I think that girl was interested in me." He was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Now that I'm thinking about it, I might be more sure of this than like any time before." She wouldn't stop talking to me.
Yeah.
So then, as you could probably guess from an outside viewer, if you kept talking to someone after they were like, "Hey, don't you need to go?" And you were like, "Later, what's up with you?"
Yeah.
You were probably interested in that person.
Yeah. Obviously enough to keep conversation going.
So then I ended up, then I texted them and I was like, "Hey, this is Ted." Because the deadline had passed of when the pre-orders were still open. And I was like, "Hey, this is Ted. I want you to know I didn't steal your money, but it's still down. Don't worry." And then she just sent me a bunch of, "Ha ha ha, I really didn't think that. I'm sure it'll be fine." And then I was there for another hour and a half until the freaking things opened, and they finally were. And I was like, "One for me, one for my brother, one for this random person I just met." So, anyway, then,
Y'all are texting.
what? Yeah, but I was very like transactional. I was like,
Yeah.
"Here's your pre-order receipt. Here's a picture. You can go in and check and know I didn't steal your money."
Yeah.
And then she was like, "Hey, I'm actually getting off work soon. Do you want to hang out?" And I was just like,
You sure?
and I was like, kind of, but I'm actually not there anymore. I had a lot of stuff to do today that I put off for 6.5 hours because I was here. So anyway, but since then, we've, just been
Have you
kinda-
hung out?
No, and that's what's weird.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how podcast appropriate this conversation is, but it's very confusing with this person because, like, we've talked a whole bunch. We've played like some games together online or whatever, and there's been a couple times where I'm like, "Hey, we want to hang out? You want to meet up for this, that, or whatever?" And then it just doesn't work out or doesn't happen, and then I'll be like, "Okay, that's kind of the end of this interaction." And like, even so much so, because now it's been like a year,
Right.
that there's been at least 2 instances where I'm like, "Look, I get what I did was like kind of nice, I did a favor for someone, a random person. It's probably not as big of a deal as you're making it. We don't have to like you don't have to keep talking to me if you don't
Right,
want,
right,
don't
right.
want to. I get it." and she keeps texting me, keeps talking to
Is
me.
it very casual?
Sometimes, yeah,
Sometimes?
sometimes it's weird. And even and then it got to a point where like one time we were like online together, and I was like, "Can I just ask you what's the deal here?
Right.
What's going on?" I was like, "Don't get me wrong, you seem really cool. I don't meet a lot of other people who are as deeply interested into the same things as I am,
Right.
especially on the level that we both are with
Yeah.
like Zelda and Halo,
Right.
like pretty side, same side, same coin, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm cool with just being friends because you're pretty rad. But is there something else here? Because
Yeah.
I'd like to know like what the
Right.
deal is. And then she said, "Don't worry about it." And I went, "What?" She was like, "Yeah, just don't worry about it." And I was like,
That's not an answer.
"Okay." And then she went, "For real?" And I was like, "What am I gonna do? Be a dick and be like, no, fucking define things for me?" And I was like, "No."
Right, that's
Then
your
I'm
answer. I'm taking it.
Yeah, I'm like now I'm not gonna worry about it, and
Yeah.
it's
Period.
all right. So then since then, like once every couple weeks, I get a text message from her, and she's like, "Hey, how's it going? What's going on? How you been?"
Right.
And I'm like, "I'm fine. What's going on with you? Hey, blah blah blah." And that's been like that for months.
It's
And
that's interesting.
right, it's weird as fuck, right? Not normal.
You'd think it'd just be easy enough to be like, hey, I just want to be friends. I
That's
love
what I'm
playing
saying.
games with you. Oh, awesome, cool,
Right?
me
I'm
too.
cool with that too. Like that's
But
fine
like,
with me.
what
But
does
if there's something else,
what does don't worry about it mean?
exactly. What the fuck does "don't worry about it" mean?
And
I
like, that's not like a reassuring answer. Not that like you're needing to be reassured, but you just want to make sure that boundary of are we friends
Yeah.
or not?
yeah. And then like
You
do you
know?
have do you have an intention of something more than friends?
Right.
I'm cool with that. I don't,
Right. You just want to know.
yeah, but like I don't want to, I don't want to overstep. I don't want to do
Yeah,
anything,
yeah.
So it's like, hey, I'm going to ask you, and then I've never been in a situation where I've asked a girl that question
And that was
and
her
not
answer.
had a,
Like a definite answer.
yeah, and even when they're not definite, it's like enough to you can be like, okay, I get it.
You can read
I get
it,
the
yeah.
vibe.
Yeah.
This was just pure like,
Don't worry about it.
don't worry about it. It's just whatever.
And then I'll keep
Fine.
texting you, but it never goes anywhere.
Yeah,
It's
and
very
then-
surface level.
And that's the thing is now I just don't push and now I don't press because I'm like,
No.
all right,
do that.
fine, how are you? Hey, did you get any new video games? Hey,
Right.
blah,
Very
blah, blah.
surface level.
yeah, because I'm like, I try, because if you wanted to be friends, we could pursue that relationship. If you
Yeah.
wanted to be something else, we could pursue, go deeper in that. But if there's,
Like nothing to go off of.
yeah, then I'm just not going to push either way, and it's going to be just that. But I'm glad it's not just me who thinks that was weird, because
I mean, it
That
would
was-
have made more sense if she didn't keep texting you every few
I know.
weeks. Because then you would have been like, oh, I got the idea.
exactly.
But
and
you're
I-
just like, why are you forcing not conversation?
and that's what I'm saying is like, I don't text her.
Right.
I'm never like, hey, what's going on? Hey, how you been? She texts me.
Yeah.
So if I had any other interaction with this girl, based on my experience, I'd be like, oh, she's into me.
Yeah.
She keeps reaching out, keeps doing stuff. And I'm like, and based on our other conversations and stuff,
Yeah.
which I'm not going to talk about on this podcast, I'd be like, oh, that leads me to believe that she's interested in me.
I guess
But-
the only thing I can think of, which would be shitty, but it's a thing, is if she just liked your attention.
Maybe.
You know?
No.
Like,
But-
it's like, oh, he's really nice. Oh, he's cool. Oh, we can talk about this or even go deeper about that. I don't know if she almost found it as just like entertainment to keep her like, because people do that,
Yeah.
just like they just need someone to kind of talk to for them, not for like the other person,
Yeah.
And maybe it's that. I don't know. As
I don't
shitty
know.
as that could be, I would just read into that of like, you know what? Maybe this is
The
just.
thing is, she
entertain-
also doesn't talk to me about that deep stuff, and I'll be like, even when
Mhm.
she mentions stuff, I'll be like, I try to be all right, and I'll be like, hey, are you okay about that?
Yeah.
Be like, that's fine. I don't want to talk about it. And I'll be like, okay, fine. Whatever. So
I'd say if it's surface level like that, then I wouldn't even text her back. Unless it's like a, hey, I really do kind of like you. I just kind of want to know if that's
Yeah.
up for talking, or if it's not, then I'm okay, like, severing this kind
Yeah.
of, like, back and forth random stuff.
the way I see it, and this is going to be something that you never thought of, never even popped in your head. You have no context for this. In the world of collecting retro video games, a lot of it is about connections. It's who you
Okay.
know, what other people got. People be trading, people
That's
keep
true.
moving, who you know.
That's true.
And let me tell you, she got some shit. And she knows people with stuff.
Yeah.
And I've already been in, like, I've gotten stuff from people she's known. And so it's like,
Okay, so
okay, it's
just
another
keeping that
connection.
community. Yeah.
It's a bit of community, bit of connection, you know.
Yeah, I respect that. Yeah.
That's fine. Anyway, yeah.
Uh,
But, you know, right before I got my, like, monthly or so text message of being like, what's going on? And
yeah.
I'm like, I'm recording a show.
Yeah.
I should start getting weird with it and be like, oh man, I just tried this new stuff called Speed. It gets you going.
just get more unhinged as
Yeah.
you it's just
I'll take a picture of knockoff Squirrel and be like, this is my new best friend Gary. He says some weird stuff.
That'd actually be fucking hilarious. Oh my god.
To see how much I can push before they're finally like,
Yeah.
I don't think I want to talk to you anymore. Or before they're like,
You're welcome.
Yeah. I'll be like, cool, I'm glad we nice.
Well, speaking of fucking surface level, let's get not surface level.
I really thought you were gonna be like, speaking of surface level, like our relationship.
No, I don't think we're surface level.
I don't think
but
so
that's
either.
hilarious. Let's get into this little gamey game.
Little do you viewers know, we don't even know each other. This is an industry. We were just hired.
We're just plants.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Camera quality,
I didn't.
It's just to make it endearing.
Oh fuck. So I like to play this game with friends. I play with my partner, family, and I think it's just a good little icebreaker that can lead to any conversation. But I think a lot of these questions, you almost would have no moment to kind of be like, oh shit, that's a good question to ask somebody. I think they're just fun. A lot of questions you probably wouldn't even think to ask yourself. And I thought, you know, we've been friends for what, a year now maybe? We went to Vietnam last May. And it's now May.
Yes, we have been friends for a year. You want to know how I know?
Because it's May.
No, because of this chick.
Oh, because around that time.
Yeah, the game came out when we were in Vietnam.
Oh,
Like
shit.
as soon, like the day we landed, the game came out. It's its 1 year anniversary,
And you went.
and I was supposed to hang out with them, but I was like, I'm going to Vietnam, and they went, "Are you kidding me?" And I went, "No, I'm not."
Oh, from pre-order to finally getting it. It
Yes.
was that day you were going to Vietnam.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
shit.
pre-order was like we had been talking
Yeah,
for
yeah.
like a while, and then we were going to hang out. But as you may remember, me going to Vietnam was a last minute
Yes,
situation.
yes.
um
Wow, okay.
and we were supposed to like hang out and get together, and I was like, can't do it, I'm gonna be
I'm going
around
Nam.
the world.
I'm going Nam.
And then they were like, you fucking with me? And I went, no, really not.
See ya in a month.
Yeah, never saw it.
Yeah, so let's get some of that. The way you play it, it's real easy. It's just we go back and forth with questions in the sense of I read this question to you. We make eye contact, we talk about it, wherever it leads, you ask me it back. No blinking allowed. And you ask it back.
God, you look horrifying.
You also look scary because it looks like you don't really see me.
I don't.
So it's like glass.
Most people, so I'm well over being legally blind, viewers, I can't actually see the camera. So when I take my glasses off, all I see is like mushes of colors
Yeah.
and kind of with like a haze around them.
Yeah.
Most people have a relatively solid haze color face with two black pits where their eyes are because there's no light coming from them. I can't really make any definition. You are a little unique.
Is it because
and
of the
kind
light
of
though?
creepy. Yes, where you have these defined shadows where your nose are, so you have like black pits that bleed into blackness and then into your mouth, and it looks
I say one day for a
Real
variety
creepy.
show, I'm gonna go to Michael's and get us little canvases to paint each other, and you have to do it with no fucking glasses on.
I always actually thought that would be really cool, you know, like the police sketch artist. If I
Yes,
could go to a sketch
exactly.
artist and see if I could professionally be like, this is what I see with no glasses, and then have
Yes.
everyone be like, that's terrifying.
We gotta do that. Yeah, then you ask the question back, and it either ends or leads to just picking up another card, but it's just kind of like going with the flow.
So we don't answer the same question.
We
I
do.
answer your question. Oh, okay. Okay.
I'll ask you it after you ask me that same question, and then it's your turn.
I got you.
Back
I
and
got
forth.
you. I got you. I got you. I'm feeling.
I'm feeling. All right, let's go.
I
Let's
know,
go.
I know,
Okay,
I know.
I'll go
Let's go.
first.
Let's go. It's good time. Good time.
And if it's not a good one, just
Be like, I don't want to talk about it. Yeah.
like that. What do you love? Next. If you were to discover one thing about me that would make you walk away right now, what would it be?
That's
I mean,
so there are some things, but so I'm a pretty forgiving guy, kind of,
I'm a pretty forgiving guy. Kind
Yeah.
of.
kind of. If you're like, hey, I've known murderers, I've known some real nice people who had
I've
murdered,
killed somebody.
yeah, who killed people.
Yeah.
And at my old job, I worked in a Chipotle. I've hired murderers who were
You can hire felons.
oh yeah, at a Chipotle, that's half the workforce.
Nice.
And I'm not gonna name names, but like, I knew like we hired this one dude. He was a great worker. He's a great guy, and all he talked about was how he used to kill people and be like a freaking. He was like a thug, gangbanger,
Right.
full on, and had like he was in prison for I think it was like 12 years because he killed like these 3 people. And all he did in prison was realize that he didn't want to do it anymore. But he was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Real nice guy. And we were, best buds. He talked to me about how he'd be in prison and he didn't want to hang out with the other gangbangers, so he'd just read Harry Potter. And he would talk to me about Harry Potter, and I'd be like, I don't really know Harry Potter. And he'd be like, well, I'm going to fucking talk to you about it.
So you're very forgiving.
Yeah, so I'm very forgiving. So the only things that I'm like, is this stuff that you do or you have done?
I guess any way you interpret it.
So if you have ever messed with a kid, I'm out. I know that's a hard first turn, but let's just
That's
be honest.
exactly what my thought is.
Yeah.
If anything of that sort's like, no.
Yeah, no, we don't. Be like, honestly, I would wish you the best, but I don't wish it, And if you were currently being like, I run a dog fighting ring, I'd be like, get the fuck out.
That's very reasonable.
But if you were like,
I respect that.
if you're like, oh, I go fight random people on the street, I'd be like, okay. I mean, like, why? Is that?
Yeah,
I'd be like,
yeah.
is there
More
something
curious.
wrong? Yeah. Why do
you
you
would approach it with curiosity
I'd be like, why do
instead
you
of
do
judgment.
that? But if you were like, man, on Wednesdays I make a cool G from the dog fights and we only lose like a dog a month, I'd be like, wow, get the fuck out before I smack you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I would say about the same for you.
Really?
If I discovered one thing about you right now that would make me walk out of here and never speak to you again, it would be any type of like assault on a minor or an animal or an elderly person or just, you know, anyone heinously or maliciously.
How elderly? Because I've been in fight with a couple old dudes.
Again, it's maliciously, like you're
Oh, yeah.
intentionally trying to like hurt them because they're old or disabled or anything.
Yeah, that'd be fucked up. No, this guy was just a real dick,
Yeah.
and I worked for him, and we were both a little hot headed. You know,
Yeah.
It was a hot day.
And then I think, I think if you, I'd probably even give you a chance then, but like, if you really like hit below the belt saying something just like off the wall to me, I think I'd be like, you know, I don't let people talk to me like that. But then I'd also be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
For you to say that shit to me.
If the next time we hang out, I couldn't even think of something, but as a placeholder, I'd be like, them eyes get straight. I don't fucking. I can't even think of anything. Do you really need that nose ring?
Yeah, right.
So
Just
as a
sounding
placeholder,
so-
and then you'd be like, if that was the placeholder for something terrible,
right,
I
like
would
hit
say,
below the belt.
yeah, and you'd be like, that's not okay.
Right.
What's up?
Exactly. I'd be like, one,
I need to investigate this
Yeah.
to know if I need to get the fuck out.
exactly, or if it's like you're going through something projecting, you know,
Yeah.
because I can forgive that. But
And if I'm like, oh,
but if
I
you just like plain up disrespectful, I'd be like, oh, nah, this ain't it.
But if I'm just like, oh, I just found out my friend runs a dog fighting ring and
Yeah.
entered my dog in it, so I'm having trust
I
issues.
think I wouldn't be your friend if you had friends like that.
Yeah.
Like if you were like, oh, you know, I do have a friend that, you know, he did rape someone. I'd be like, oh, we can't be fucking friends then. Because I
Yeah.
wouldn't respect you having a friend like
Yeah, I'd
that.
be like, no.
Or family, you know, just period, tolerating it.
Yeah, I do have family to do that. I don't talk to those people.
Right.
That I was
Or,
like,
Again,
those are
if you're
cut.
like super racist or sexist or anything like that, homophobic, I wouldn't be friends with you. I would be like, did you really just say that fucking shit? And I'd
Your
walk-
bar's super racist. My bar is any level. If you're any level
There you
so
go.
your bar's super? Really? How racist are your friends?
Oh man, that's fun.
So my turn.
Your turn.
Your turn.
My voice didn't crack, but it's fine.
My voice, I can get real high, but I can't get to high.
Well, I have
to
that
go
video of
high.
us in Vietnam singing karaoke of Jack Black when he hits that
Yeah.
in that song.
See, I can hit it. I can't go to it. That's my problem. Is if I go to it, I crack. But I'm not gonna peek the mics. But if I'm like,
You just get there.
I can just be there, but
Well,
I
you-
can't go from to. 'Cause- See, and it cracks. What's the wisest thing anyone ever told you?
What is the wisest thing anyone's ever told me? Wisest thing. I would have to say.
Do you really need that nose? I'm fully kidding, by the way. Anyone watching, you have a very nice nose ring. It looks very good on you.
It's expensive. I got told something once that was like, the longer you wait to live the life you want, the less time you have in that. And I think that shit one time in therapy just lit a fire under me, and I was like, oh shit, you're right. I just gotta do that shit now. Try. You know, live in that moment, or else I'll be wasting it away. It's kind of like memento mori, you know, like,
Yeah.
don't waste your time on shit like that. Don't be afraid to die. Don't worry about things that are out of your control. What about you?
So I have two things.
Yeah.
One is a positive thing. The other is probably a negative thing. If that's okay.
Sure.
Okay.
You're answered. Whatever you
So,
want.
one, and I don't know 100. This is just what pops to mind. I've had a lot of wisdom in my time. Let me tell you.
Aw,
Known a lot of old people and old working. Boy, they love to talk. But I knew this one old man who I used to do some work for, and I remember he had gotten into a fight with his son, and this was like years ago, and I got into a fight with my dad, and I was just like, man, how do you know? I asked him, how do you come back from that? And then he took his hands, and I remember it so vividly. As he said, and he said, this isn't just for parents, but it's for any relationship. I'm paraphrasing, but he went, people come together, and they go. And eventually, no matter what, something will happen, whatever happens, and they come apart. And that's just the way of the world. And just like that, they're almost magnetized and drawn to each other. But if nothing happens, they'll continue to go apart, and then there's no coming back. But if you make an effort to bring it back, it will mirror. Effort will be paralleled. Anyway, you can come back together.
Interesting.
And I think that one, it's in my experience, it is very true of like people who I've disconnected with, who I didn't want to disconnect with. After when I think about that and I reach out and I try to, it's like instant. You can come back from.
Yeah.
Pretty easily. All you have to do is try.
Mm-hmm.
Put in that. If there's someone you want in your life and you feel uncomfortable about reaching out or doing so, just do it. You're not hurting anyone but by yourself. And I've never not had it reciprocated.
Mm-hmm.
By that same token, though, you have to also be strong enough to know when you you shouldn't reach out. You shouldn't have that person in your life. So you need to keep that
boundaries.
Yeah. But I always thought that was kind of like it was a positive thing where I thought about relationships, and like, even I have friends now who I don't get to see very often, who live far away, talk. I'm an adult. It happens. But that is kind of a aspect of our relationship where as soon as one of us reaches out or talk,
like picking up where it left off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The negative thing is that knowing, someone told me that all people are inherently selfish.
Oh yes.
You, me, everyone. There is
humanity.
Yeah, humanity is a inherently selfish thing. So understanding that selfishness makes it much easier to deal with people and their negatives.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, like, people have done things to me or things that have pissed me off or something like that. I can just attribute it to an attribute. I can make a line of something of selfishness that leads right to it, and I'm like,
are you pretty cynical?
I don't think so, because I believe
think so either.
that
I think I'm more cynical than you are.
Yeah, I believe that people are selfish, but I think a cynic would think that people are always bound by that selfishness and ruled by it. I think that, as maybe subconsciously, I don't know if I believe that, but I think as long as you're aware of it, you can make a conscious effort not to be that.
For sure.
And that's what I try to do.
Yeah.
Spun it into a positive.
Love it. Love it. What do you think is the biggest difference between us?
Besides the penis.
Not much besides that.
No, I think honestly, you and I, the more that I learn about you, the more I realize how similar we are in like so many ways. I think the biggest difference between me and you is that I'm a nerd and you're cool.
I'm not cool.
Spoken like a cool person, am I right?
What
out
makes
there,
me cool to you?
One, your demeanor, vibe, very chill,
Mm.
very, you have a cool vibe,
Okay.
and your attitudes towards people, what they think, any, we mentioned this like a little bit before, so I don't know if this is telling tales at school. We were talking about TikTok and about how these overconfident people putting things on there that isn't. I think that any aspect of yourself is ruled more by your own self-confidence and not a societal construct,
Yeah.
which is cool
Right.
because you are being the most you that you feel comfortable
Yeah.
being versus what you think you should be or something else.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
like not fitting
cool.
the mold.
Yeah. And then there's some surface level stuff. You got cool tattoos, you got a cool job, you got cool style, you got a cool car, you got a cool apartment,
There you go. Wow. So nice.
you make cool salads. Tried one. It's pretty good. But I think, you can't, coolness isn't a thing, like high school movies where it's like they talk about that, like the cool kid.
Yeah.
And it's,
I wasn't one of those high school. Like, I wasn't cool based on the depiction of those movies.
that's what I'm saying is that I'm just talking about how they define in the thing.
Yeah.
Where they have the thing where the cool kid's like, I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
And then it feels like that where cool is just a being.
Yeah.
I'm not cool.
Yes, you are.
I'm not chill.
You are.
I'm funny.
You're outgoing. That's cool.
I'm personable,
And outgoing.
but I'm not cool. Also,
You are
big
cool.
nerd. You, not a big nerd.
I think everyone's a nerd about shit they're into.
Yeah.
Whether it's video games, whether it's hair, whether it's art or skateboarding or
so cool shit.
everyone nerds out about
Let me
something.
talk about like the coolest things there is. Fucking art and skateboarding.
Comic books, all that stuff.
God, it's just like,
Oh, that's funny.
I don't know. What do you think the biggest difference between me and you is? I'm not saying it's
I think you're a lot more personable than I am.
yeah, I see that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, by the way. I'm perfectly fine
I
with
know,
who I am.
yeah.
If you're a nerd out there like me, don't think it's a negative. We're stronger now than we've ever been in society,
I
baby.
mean, everyone loves anime and shit now. That used to be like the nerdy shit people made fun of kids for. Now it's like, oh, it's so cool. Which I like the art of it, but I just can't get into like the actual material.
It hits
But
me,
again,
man.
I don't want to be a hype beast either. With like society, I'm not trying to hop on a trend because it's cool. Like, I appreciate it, and then I'm like, okay, well, it's not my thing. But I'd say, yeah, I think the biggest difference between us is you're much more actual, like, I think you're a lot more confident than I am. You're a lot more outgoing and personable, for sure.
Crazy.
I'm serious.
No, I know.
Because I've even told you, like, you fill up a room. Again, not physically, but, like, just your vibe. And it's personable, it's inviting. Where I walk into the room and I kind of, like, am trying to find that person to kind of be by, and then I'm fine.
Yeah.
Because if you put just me in a room of introverts, none of us are going to fucking talk to each other. All my friends, my partner, are outgoing because I need that.
Yeah.
Like you.
Very few people are as outgoing as your partner, though.
That's
That dude
true.
Crazy.
But I love it because it's made me kind of open up out of my shell, and my friends make me open up out of that. If it wasn't for that, I'd be like, when I first started cutting hair, and people were like, "You're kind of awkward when you talk, and you ask weird questions that you probably shouldn't be first asking somebody when you meet them." Because I had no idea how to talk to people.
You see, that's the thing is you have to lean into that
Yeah.
and then go so balls weird that it comes around and you're like, and they're like, huh, I never thought about it. You go up to someone and you're like, man, what are your thoughts on peanut butter? And they're like,
I'm more like, do you like dead things? Do you find skulls places? I can talk about that.
Do you find skulls?
Yeah.
I know that actually. I know.
On my yacht. You guys want to purchase any of my yacht?
You should. I'm poor, but I would buy. I buy it.
Your turn.
Was that me or you?
I thought that was me. What's the biggest difference between
Yeah.
us?
You gotta understand how little attention I'm paying to what's going on around me. I'll ask you this question. I don't think it's a very good one.
Well, then toss it.
What is the best gift you ever received and why? Is that interesting to you?
I guess it's how you interpret gift.
That's true.
Like
the Lord Jesus Christ.
Yes. That's my answer.
That's the best gift for both of us. Next.
Oh shit.
I'm sorry.
That was a good one.
Oh my god. Oh my god, that's so good. What is the greatest thing a member of your family did that surprised you?
That's another shitty question.
And that's also not great.
Ask another one.
Okay. These are bad.
Either really good or really bad.
No.
Here, pick one from here.
Okay. This one. Okay. Describe one experience you hope to have in the future.
An experience I would like to have in the future. I guess I'll just mold it into kind of a broader answer of I hope I really riddle my anxiety away and I get to travel and really do shit and not
And just be free of that.
yeah, and not rely on I only went to Vietnam because there's family there. I would never do that because that's way that makes my anxiety just
Let me tell you, it's scary as fuck.
yeah. So it's
First
I
time.
like going places that I know people, but that's not gonna lead me many places.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my answer in a broader.
That's still good.
Yeah. What about you?
Mine, easy.
Jesus.
I want to experience Jesus. No. I want to go into a restaurant weighing under 250 pounds.
Yeah.
And let me describe why. So,
Well, actually, real fast, I saw a Reddit post days ago, and I wanted to ask you this question. I almost feel like you're gonna answer it.
maybe.
So it's kind of full circle if you do.
So our video viewers can see, I'm a real fat guy. Why does everyone? I do have a serious. Any person I know,
Because people, it's just
that instant
it's
uncomfort.
bold. No, it's just bold.
Everyone I've ever met, when I'm like, yeah, I'm fat. I'm real fat. Or if
I just respect it, so I'm laughing because I'm own
Yeah.
that shit.
yeah, obviously, and I'm anytime, not just you, anybody.
Yeah.
Where if
I'm sure some of it's uncomfortable, but I'm doing it
yeah, I
own
mean,
that shit.
maybe, yeah, but I'm like, if I bring up my weight in a non-comedic, just sense, they're always like,
Because it's shocking.
I guess.
Almost, for some. It's kind of like that in Pitch Perfect, where she calls herself Fat Amy, and they're like, "Why do you call yourself fat?" And she's like, "So skinny twig bitches you don't say it behind my back." So I know I'm fat. Call me Fat Amy, and don't say that shit anywhere else.
I guess. I never really thought I was aggressive. I'm just like, yeah, I am. I'm not gonna be like, oh.
Yeah.
But as a fat person, there are certain equations that go on in your brain that most people don't consider. One of which is anytime I go out, especially to restaurants, I'm always thinking of, and that's the path. And because if you're going to a table, if you're going to a thing, cafe, bar, whatever, you cannot bob and weave. And you know me, I can move. I'm pretty bob and weavy.
Yeah.
But even still, you have to plan out a route that causes the least inconvenience with other people. That is like, is this chair out a little bit more? Is
Right.
this out a little bit less? Should I walk this way? Should I walk that way?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know about you. I doubt you have ever thought of this. Whenever you're like,
Not in the sense of in my size.
yeah,
More in the sense of anxiety of like, oh fuck, I gotta go walk through people.
Yeah.
Which way can I hide the most through?
mine is like, can I walk through there?
Yeah.
No, there, here.
Right.
So I would love to go to a restaurant without any, and that's just one of the thoughts in my head. Another thought that I have is like, which seat am I going to take? Does the table move?
Right.
What can I order that gives the implication that not only, you know, that this is what I want to eat, but I'm not going to get a item that like contributes to the perception of me being very fat.
Yeah.
So I'd love to go to a restaurant and just with none of those thoughts in my head, which to me is me weighing, you know, like under 250 pounds.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what the question was on Reddit. It was on the Ask Reddit page, and it was people who are obese. What would you like non-obese people to know about you that they probably never would? And a lot of it was like that, like the space you take up, or you think I'm gonna order like 5 entrees off this thing and just be like a slob and eat all this food, or like a lot of stuff, like kind of like you mentioned, just like that maze in your head of like, you know what people are thinking.
Yeah. For me, someone asked me that question, I'd be like, I mean, I touched on it before in
Mhm.
that. It'd be like, I would want you to know that I know I'm fat.
Right.
And I know that this is like a big problem for a lot of, maybe not, I mean, I don't know like a crazy, there's not a club, you know, that I'm a part of. But from what I've seen, a lot of obese people, they can't really fathom like why they're obese.
Sure.
They can't really come to terms with like the choices they made that led there.
Yeah.
They can't really, and it's like a really big deal to them.
Right.
I know I'm fat. I know why I'm fat. I get that I'm fat. When I say I don't think it's a big deal, I know it's a big deal health-wise to be this weight. Socially, like talking about
Right,
it.
right. You're
If
not
someone
like
was like,
ashamed.
"It's what's this like being fat?" I'd be like, "Oh, it's like this."
Right.
You know, like if I asked you,
It's
like,
very matter of fact.
Yeah,
without
like,
the feeling.
"What's your experience as a woman with XYZ?"
Right.
You could be like, blah, 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 blah. And I would go, oh, I'm not a woman. I don't have that experience. If someone asked me that as a fat person, I'd be like, oh, yeah, you don't have that experience. It's
right.
like this,
yeah,
and this.
yeah.
Anyway, your turn.
What problem in your life are you comfortable having?
It's a hard one. So I don't.
If you don't have an answer to, that's fine.
So I have one, but it's not a good answer, but it's one. The problem I'm okay with having is that some mornings getting suffocated because my dog is a real cuddler, and sometimes she puts her face, like her neck and stuff, on my face, and I can't breathe. And
You're okay with that?
yeah, because that's just love.
Exactly.
But that's just a goofy answer.
That is a hard question.
Yeah.
Even while you're answering, I'm trying to like boggle.
Because if it's a problem, then you're inherently uncomfortable with
Right.
it. Otherwise, you wouldn't view it as a problem. I think the most realistic answer that I could have is the fact that I don't drive. Is that I know it's a problem, but I would be more, comfortable with it as purely as a point of like not inconveniencing others.
Right.
Which doesn't really come up and hasn't really been a thing.
Right.
So that's why I'm pretty comfortable with it, but I only really want to like drive to kind of do that. But yeah, like I don't really have a problem with not driving. I don't
Yeah.
really like if I didn't drive the rest of my life, I'd be like, if I didn't need to, I guess that's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. I always forget you don't drive.
Yeah. See, this so does everyone else. You know?
I mean, I fucking hate driving. I wish I would be driven around if I could.
Let me tell you, as long as you're cool, not really going places, which I already was, it ain't a big deal. It's pretty, it's just like someone would be like, "Hey, do you want to do this thing?" And I'll
Right,
be
you
like,
just join.
"Sure. You want me to go? Come and get
I
me."
think there's a lot more people, especially people being more aware of their anxiety and mental health that like can't drive or stuff like that because it's just
Yeah, that was.
or like a lot of people don't drive because they live in a place with great public transit or they can walk or ride a bike or the bus.
Yeah, and there's just no real need
no
to.
reason.
Hello, Laura. Do you have any problem like that? It's a hard one.
It's a hard one. I don't know if it's necessarily a problem. I mean, it kind of is. I would say is like
We can just skip it. We can just go.
okay.
Okay. You want to do one more each,
Yeah.
and then
Wrap it up.
yeah, we'll wrap up this episode. Okie doke. What's your greatest fear about getting older?
Ooh, looking old.
Really?
I'm super vain. I don't
Can't wait to look old.
really know. I already get like Botox and stuff
Really?
just because I don't mind aging. I just don't want to look my age. I know I'm gonna eventually look older, but I don't ever want to have like that old turkey neck. I'll get a fucking neck lift. Like I'm not ashamed to say I will get work done because I don't want to look.
The turkey neck is like the only thing that I'd be like, no, I'd go get it cut off. You know? Laura.
You big fat butt.
You just said, what the hell's the matter with you?
Oh,
The turkey neck is the only thing where I'm like, just cut that sucker off.
exactly.
I'll take crow's feet, gray
Yeah,
hair.
right. I don't care about all
I've
that.
wanted a widow's peak since I was a kid. And it won't go. Won't happen. I don't give a shit. But if you get that jingle jangle,
That's just like thin.
yeah, like,
and,
you know,
like I don't want the facelift where it's up here. I just don't want this to be all
yeah. Yeah, that's
stringy.
fine. You
Yeah.
cut that. You got like a bunch of lines,
Yeah,
you know, or
no,
something like
I
that.
don't want that.
Looks like someone put a bunch of loose, tied a bunch of deli meat to your chin, you know. Yeah, that's fine.
Not having that.
Um,
What about you?
uh,
Turkey neck also.
no, you can just cut that off. I think the thing I fear the most about getting old is the pain from the damage that my body has undergone, like now.
You're like feeling that
Yeah,
when you're older.
because like
Supporting yourself.
exactly, because like
For
I
sure.
know that. Well, for one, not to bring it back to weight, but carrying around this much weight is bad for your joints,
Yeah.
and especially later on down the line. But also, I've been hit by a couple cars and a truck, and
You've gotten hurt.
yeah, I got hurt. I won't go super into detail on this one, but I've been hurt, and it already hurts sometimes when it's like cold.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like when it's about to rain and I'm like, ooh, I feel that here. And
Yeah.
ooh, here. And I'm like, man, when I'm like 60,
Yeah.
that shit gonna be rough.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need those.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Because I already hurt now cutting hair. I'm like, if I hurt, I mean, I go to physical therapy now, but like you said, if you already feel it now, what the fuck is it gonna feel like when you're older?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be like bent half over looking at the ground with a cane walking. I'm not trying to. None of that.
Yeah. That's why I started doing yoga. Is
Exactly.
to like, and
Mobility.
yeah.
Use it or lose it. That's what they say.
Wonder if that's true for everything.
I think it is.
Do you guys use everything? I know I do.
That was giving like Victoria's Secret. It's here.
What's your sin?
Exactly.
What are you using? And I heard a story about that once where it was this.
There was a skit too on Drag Show. That's why I also thought it was.
Oh,
funny.
really?
Yeah.
I worked in a call center for like a little bit in college.
Yeah.
And there was this chick who told the story about her it's like her great aunt or something, who she was very religious, and her aunt never got married, never had sex, and she said that it just closed up. And it like
I believe that would probably happen.
she was like, and I was like completely? And she was like, well, no, she could still like go pee, but she said everything else just didn't work, closed up. And I was like, was she not like,
Right.
and I didn't want to be like,
no, but
was
yeah.
your great aunt not like just full
Herself?
dildo all the time? But I'm guessing that wasn't the case.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Use it or lose it.
Yep.
Your brain, your muscle. She said this fucking card
Just
game
put it on the
is
back of the
over.
couch.
She said this card game is fucking over. Fine, Alora. Fine.
So,
Well, that wraps up our card.
oh, it does. I thought you had one
I'm gonna
more.
do one more.
Well, I did one. No, you do one. Then we're done. And then no more. You get nothing unless you pay us. Then we'll do it. That's fine. You know.
How am I most like you, and how does that scare you?
How does it? I mean, I don't know if it scares me.
Okay.
Ooh, not true. Okay,
Ooh.
I got an epiphany.
Right.
So you and I think, the most alike in the sense that when we feel like someone just needs to be cut off, we sever it completely.
Yeah.
Full tie, full cut, never again.
Yeah.
And what scares me is that I feel as though, I've grown very close to you as a friend in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah.
So it scares me in the sense of like, if I do something to mess it up and then I get cut off, that would
I think
really
I'd
suck.
at least let you know I'm cutting you off, so you
I
would know
appreciate
why.
Yeah.
Wow. Am I so alike? I would say that's a good question.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I'll just sit on that one, and I'll randomly text you one day with the answer.
And be like,
by the way,
blah blah, and I'll be like, what are you talking about? What? And you like, remember on the show? And I'm like, I've told you 100 times, I don't remember what I can do while during the recording, but the second that recording stops, it's like
Gone.
it vacates. It bleeds out of me.
Yeah. What did you think of that card game, though? Just for
Oh,
your
it was a
first
lot of
time,
fun.
kind of
Yeah, that was great.
dabbling. I feel like the questions get better when it's like Friends Edition.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll try that one, because maybe I think we do know more about each other than obviously straight.
Yeah. Honestly, like all the ones I put back was literally like, what does your family think about you? What's your favorite family thing?
Yeah.
And I was like, why the fuck is this about?
So family.
Like,
I guess you can learn a lot about someone based on their family.
yeah, I guess, but you'd think for strangers you want to know about the person, so it's like, what do you think?
Yeah.
It is actually a weird question for a stranger of like, hey, we're strangers. How are we most alike?
And
And how does
that
it scare you? Like, we just met. We have the same nose.
Yeah. How
That
does that scare
scare
you?
Like, it's like, it comforts me because that means there's a spare out there. I'd be like, well, now it scares the shit out of me.
That's funny.
All right.
All right. I hope you guys liked our variety show. It'll kind of be something a little different each time, but just something more casual.
Yeah. Look forward to these as kind of, just sort of a
like
break
easy
stop.
filler.
Yeah, between your regularly scheduled program. No, it's you got stuck up. You know what I mean. Feel free to check us out on YouTube, Patreon, your podcast feeds.
TikTok. Sharing's always free.
Yep. Drop us a like. Drop us
Yeah.
a sure.
A follow.
Yeah. Check us out on Patreon. Give us $1. You liked it. There's a show. I don't know how long this show was. It was an hour or so. Think about how much a movie would cost if you went and spent this much time in a movie.
That's
It'd
true.
be like $10 minimum.
Minimum, yeah.
I want like $1. Are you annoyed because of how I ask for money every episode? It's because I'm so poor. I need it. And not just for drugs. Not just for drugs. Anyway.
Well, be safe out there.
Yep.
Until next time.
Bye. Just never quit. That's what scares me the most.